Hi, this is Melissa with The Creative Season, and we are continuing with our mini-series, Creating Through Christmas, celebrating the gifts of 2022. And we are celebrating the gifts of blooming in hard seasons by painting a sketch of the beautiful Amaryllis flower. So we're doing a simple sketch, and we're also talking about and reflecting on the times when we have bloomed or we are blooming through the hard seasons of life. So please join with me, grab your red, green paint and your paintbrush and paper, and let's create this lovely reflection. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the next day 2 of our Creating Through Christmas, celebrating the gifts of the season. So today we're going to be painting some Amaryllis. Today, Wednesday, normally we are painting flowers, so we're going to pull in the Amaryllis. I was just doing some loose sketches in my sketchbook this morning and thought I would go ahead and sketch out the flower as well as do the painting with you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Amaryllis as we sketch it out together, and I'm actually going to be using just a really simple flower. This is another beautiful bulb flower, and like the lily, it can be a little bit challenging sometimes to create. So really, I'm actually going to start out with my long stem that's just going to actually maybe go over to the side, and this stem is just going to go all the way down. It has been so foggy here. Let me move this in a bit closer so you can see that. Here in Sacramento, I haven't seen the sun in days, literally days, and so I have a light on. We've got as much sunlight that is hopefully going to be out this morning. That's out, and hopefully it's just enough that we can see. Okay, so like a lily, what I'm going to do is, again, keeping this simple because we don't want this to be overcomplicated. With the lilies, all those beautiful petals are typically, they have significant large petals very gracefully going out different directions. And I was really noticing that you have this interior part right here that we're going to have some green color coming out. What I noticed about Amaryllis is that they are different styles, different hybrids, pinks, reds, whites, some almost looking like a peppermint shade, which is really beautiful. And so I was playing with some different reds this morning as well, and just seeing what might look really beautiful on our petals. So if you're sketching with me, I'm just making my petals pretty loose here. And again, I've got this big one here where it's curving out. I've got this one. I'm not too worried about making it exact or making them really perfect. That's not my biggest concern. I am going to create some of my green out here, but one of the petals I noticed, what I thought was really lovely, is that we had almost like another little one poking up. So I am going to do my little Amaryllis bulb here, and so we have this one, and then I'm actually, since I'm off center with this one, I'm going to go ahead and create a stalk for the one that's not quite burst into bloom. I'm going to pull it back now, just so you can get, again, almost like a pinwheel is what I have going on here. The little one with that little leaf sticking out. Now I'm going to come back up so you get a little bit more. And I noticed too with the Amaryllis, I'm actually going to go ahead and create a couple more leaves, because I noticed it almost like a sunflower. The Amaryllis tends to be almost lots and lots of beautiful blooms coming out. And then I am going to go ahead and, just like the tulip and other bulb flowers where they have the very clean and beautiful stalks coming up off of them, I have stalks here, and so I'm just going to do a couple down here. And again, another journal. I want this to be easy, light. And what is our theme today? So as I start painting, we'll talk a little bit more about the Amaryllis. I'm actually on the hunt to find one this year. And I'm going to use, speaking of colors, I'm going to use an alizarin crimson, because it's not quite as bright as, like, for example, for the poinsettia that we painted a few weeks ago. We used a cadmium red. You can certainly use that, whatever color you like. I'm also going to use a little bit of permanent pink. So we're going to have that in there. So I'm going to come through here and just start really going around the edges. So just moving through here and coming in. And the Amaryllis is an interesting flower. It blooms in the winter. It blooms in the cold, And when, you know, most flowers are blooming in the warmth of the sun of the spring, but not the amaryllis. It endures the hard, cold season of winter and it explodes in just a beautiful bloom. I don't know if you're familiar with Christy Nockels. She's a singer and a songwriter and an author. She wrote a beautiful song about the amaryllis flower. I bought the CD where she does some talking about it, just a dark season where she was encouraged to bloom and find the courage in the winter. And even she talks too about the birth of Christ. He can, you know, that birth of light and warmth in winter. We celebrate it in the Christmas and the coldest month of the year where everything has gone dormant and dark, and not the season of life, right? This is a season typically of hibernation, of a retreat. And I was on my walk this morning and I saw these sweet little baby like daisies. Okay, I'm just going to do another bloom back here. Again, I'm just kind of going the outside. We're going to add some more colors in just a minute here, but just moving along the outside of these beautiful, beautiful blossoms. So letting that, keeping it pretty wet too. You'll notice on my paint, on my paper, I have some splatters. I think I'd use this to cover another painting. So again, with the journaling, I'm not concerned about having a really perfect piece of paper. All right, I'm gonna grab my green here. I'm just gonna use a permanent green for the inside of the flower. And really right here this is almost kind of my inside. So this is where it's the real deep part. So we're gonna just create that green in here and everything's coming out of that inner part. And I'm not gonna do the whole thing. We wanna create that sense of interiorness. I'm also gonna go over here. I notice on the bulbs that are not open all the way, we have that green at the top, and then we're gonna move down here and be careful of not letting that green touch the red or it will turn to brown. So we're just moving almost like using almost a colored pencil. We're actually going to pull in a little bit of yellow here in just a second. The yellow is going to disappear into the rest of the painting, but I'm going to do some more green. Anyways, as I was mentioning those daisies, we've had freezing weather for Sacramento, and it's been in the 30s, dropping even farther. And everything, of course, is frost, and there's been thick fog, but there's been these tiny daisies, and they have just been blooming in the grass. They're probably some sort of maybe wildflower, possibly a weed, but they have been blooming in spite of the freezing temperatures. And it really is something. It always makes me stop to see something blooming in the wintertime. And the amaryllis is known for its blooming. It's the Christmas flower, blooming in the darkest season. And so how we're going to bring this into our journaling is maybe this year there's been some dark seasons, or you have come out of a dark season, or you're being challenged to bloom where you were planted, right in the middle of challenging season when you want to retreat and disappear, and spending some time journaling of that, journaling either just a journal of Thanksgiving, or just a reflection on what it might mean to continue to bloom and continue to burst through hard things, because there's not a single one of us that does not go through seasons of really hard times. I'm going to dab some yellow now, just a little bit of yellow here, and I keep wanting to put my paintbrush into the candle, which would be problematic on so many levels. I'm going to take the yellow though, and I'm going to go right down the middle of my stems and my stalks. The yellow will end up getting overtaken by the green, but it adds a bit of warmth. And I wasn't going to do a lot of splattering, but I might just splatter with some yellow. I'm going to pull this around. It's coming around really nicely. I think I will. Just a little bit of splattering. This is going to just give some dimension. So when I sketch or when I do some writing and journaling, that just will give it some nuance, right? Some layering over here. Now I'm going to come back with the red, and I am now going to start coming back in and making it. Okay, so we're back. I'm sorry about that. My card was full. So we are back here continuing to paint. I was just mentioning, if you do not have access to an amaryllis like myself, I know, just, go on Pinterest. There's lots of beautiful flowers to look at. I'm just, again, coming through here and just going to finish up really gently here. I'm not going to try to do too much. I am going to grab a little bit of pink. I'm going to come back over here, letting that dark, beautiful color come through. Little bit of lines here, grabbing some of those edges. Don't be afraid though also just to let some of that white show through. We're just really wanting to grab the edges of the flower. So I'm going to make sure to get my edges down here, and then on the little bloom that's not blooming quite yet, the bulb here, making sure we add in some color, anticipating the beauty that's about to come forth in this really cold season. I'm going to grab that green again, and in some of my earlier sketches I'd added some blue or even some red to darken it up, but I'm just going to go ahead and grab the green on its own and add in a little bit of a darker color. And you can see here in my red and my green mixed, it's going to make a brown, and that's okay. It'll look a little bit like a shadowing part. I'm going to come back where I want it to be darker, either showing some shadowing or some depth, or even just the details of the lines. You can also come back with your micron pen and add in some more detail with this. So I hope that this is helping you to think too of the beauty of the hard seasons. None of us escape those hard seasons, but how we frame them, I've learned, is really, really important. And if we can learn from them and give thanks for them, it can completely change the outcomes oftentimes, not only for ourselves, but as a way also to be a light and to bring beauty to other people's lives. So I hope you're having a wonderful Christmas week, celebrating, reflecting, and getting away for a few minutes of beautiful, wonderful creating. I'm going to see you guys very, very soon.